What's up, Flannelverse? It is Monday Night Football for Week 16. We've got the 49ers at the Colts, the final game of Week 16, the final game before we know, are we advancing our teams to the best ball finals? Are we getting to the championship in our season-long leagues? Very exciting night for a lot of us. I'm here to talk about DFS. I'll be going position by position as usual, starting with quarterbacks and running backs, receivers, tight ends, defenses, kickers. At the end, I will be making my lineups on this show, taking any questions that you have as we go. I did just successfully, well, I don't know if not that successfully, the best I could do hedging my Michael Pittman fade tonight. I bet on, I just did some pick six lines with Michael Pittman scoring a touchdown, because I don't think he can get 26 fantasy points without a touchdown. So that's my hope tonight, is that Michael Pittman does not score a touchdown and that I can advance in best ball. But there are ways for me to lose both for sure. In case you didn't know, I'm going to be doing a hack giveaway on the show. We got to 600 subscribers. 6,000 subscribers for the YouTube channel. That was the goal all along. That has been the goal for this channel, to get to 6,000 by the end of the NFL season. I think we're at 6,050 now. Actually, I need to update that banner at the bottom. But we got there. I am very grateful to all of you. Of course, now the show goes on. We're trying to get to 7,000 now. That more of a next season goal probably, but I would love to get there this year, of course, if we can get there. So if you have not subscribed, please do subscribe to the channel. Would appreciate it. Again, I'll be doing a hack giveaway. I'm going to wait a little bit before we get to the hack giveaway. Actually, let me open up my YouTube now, make sure that it's all set up, ready to go. The last time I did this, I went in and tried to do it, and I had free memberships to give away, which I did not remember was the case. Yeah, it looks like I should be able to do it with no issue here. So again, I will be giving away memberships to people in chat. Anybody who's watching should be eligible. I don't think you need to comment to be eligible to win. I think to get be part of the membership, you just need to be watching the channel at the time. But I'll be doing, first of all, what I'll be doing is I'll be doing membership giveaways. So just memberships to the channel. So that would be that's $5 a month to be a member. You can also sign up if you don't win one. If you want a shot at a hat, you can also just sign up to be a member of the channel. But I'll be giving away some memberships to the channel tonight, and then tomorrow I will be doing another spin of the wheel to see which of the people who are members win hats. I'll probably be giving away 10 of them tomorrow. So yeah, if you want to be eligible for that, you can sign up or just stay in chat, and I will be doing a giveaway for some YouTube memberships tonight. Please do, yes, like the video if you have not already done so. That's always appreciated. Subscribe, all of that. You guys are the best. Appreciate you supporting me in this venture. All right, let's get into quarterbacks. So Brock Purdy, 10,400 projected for 52% flex ownership, 17% captain ownership. I am getting to 54% in the flex, only 5% captain. So right with the field on Brock Purdy in the flex, slightly over, well under the field at captain, which I think I'm okay with that. Like I don't typically love non-rushing quarterbacks at captain. I'm happy to have some, but it's not usually something that I'm trying to be over the field. So I think I'm generally okay being a bit under the field on Brock Purdy at captain. It is a fine matchup. It, on paper, not the best. It is the ninth worst matchup for quarterbacks in terms of schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed over the past 5 weeks. But the Colts are going to be, once again, without Charvarius Ward, without Sauce Gardner. So it's, I think, a little bit better. I mean, they have been out at least the past couple games. I actually didn't look up how many of those games Charvarius Ward and Sauce Gardner have been out. I think they missed at least the past couple, but they will continue to be out. So Brock Purdy throwing against backups again. So I think it's generally should be a positive matchup for Brock Purdy. 49ers ranked 12th in terms of pass rate over expectation on the season. So, they like to throw the ball. It's a nice matchup. Everything looks good for Brock Purdy. Then you've got Phillip Rivers, 44 years old. For those who don't know, Phillip Rivers, older than me, playing quarterback in the NFL. I'm still a young man in the prime of my life. Clearly, Phillip Rivers, 8,800 projected for 13% flex ownership, 3% captain ownership. I'm getting a little bit over the field in the flex at 17%, 0.4% at captain. I've been going back and forth on what I want to do with Phillip Rivers tonight. So again, the Sims have me just slightly over the field overall, and under the field at captain on Phillip Rivers. I like him better as a flex play than a captain play for sure. I think it's pretty unlikely that Phillip Rivers throws for like 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. I just don't, based on what they've done so far in their one game with Rivers, I don't think they're planning to air it out. I don't think he can probably throw it down the field 50 yards. Like, I just don't think that he has that kind of arm at this point. And I'm basing that basically on what they did last week. So if we look at in terms of pass rate over expectation in week 16, so the first week with Phillip Rivers, week 15, that would be, interesting. So they updated since the last time I did this. In terms of pass rate over expectation in week 15, Colts were second to last in the NFL in pass rate over. They were just not throwing the ball at all last week. And as you can see, this is their lowest pass rate over expectation on the entire season. Most of the season, they were pretty positive. They were down at 11.3, so basically the same in week 13. I'm trying to remember who was their quarterback at that point. Regardless, they just since Daniel Jones went down, they're just running the ball a lot more. Last week, new season high in terms of, or season low in terms of pass rate over expectation. On top of that, the ADOT for Phillip Rivers, or there's a different term for it, but average length of throw was 5.3 yards down the field. So not throwing a ton, not throwing it far. They're just dink and dunking it with Phillip Rivers. So I don't think that he has massive upside, but I do like him better than this ownership. I think I'm going to shoot for like 30-something% Phillip Rivers. I will be getting over the field here whenever I can get a quarterback that's this cheap at this low of ownership on a one-game slate. I'm going to take advantage of it, even though it's not actually simming that spectacularly. I think you see it too often in NFL games where, like, even if he's not great, throw it laterally 1 yard down the field to Jonathan Taylor, and Jonathan Taylor houses one for 60 yards. Those points go to Phillip Rivers also, and I think he's like serviceable. So even though I don't have a ton of faith in Phillip Rivers having a spike week kind of game, I think at 8,800, he's one of the top 5 likeliest players on the slate to put up 15 plus fantasy points, and he's fairly inexpensive. So I like Phillip Rivers better than this ownership, and I will be boosting him to get to like in that 30 to 35% range overall. I'm going to double check now ownership elsewhere, because I just want to make sure that it has not come up anywhere else. I don't think last time I checked, I don't think it had come up anywhere. Yeah, man, ownership is just massively low on Phillip Rivers. Also, it's actually a little bit higher, I guess, than it was earlier in another source that I'm checking. But generally, not getting any ownership. Nobody's excited to play Phillip Rivers. So if nobody else is going to do it, I'm going to play some Phillip Rivers. What else? Nothing else really to say. They're not throwing the ball. He's obviously not running at all. To be clear, did not run a single time last week. I think his career yards per game on the ground was like 2.5, even when he was a younger man. Just Phillip Rivers, not one who's going to be running at all. So generally, I'm always stacking up Phillip Rivers. If I have him at captain, I want him to be stacked with multiple pass catchers. Brock Purdy, not quite the same thing. He does have 1 rushing touchdown, 14.5 rushing yards per game this year. A little bit more likely to like just rush for a random touchdown or something. Purdy definitely has that in his bag, but still not generally playing him unstacked. I think I'd be surprised if I have many lineups that have Purdy without a stacking partner, like at least Christian McCaffrey. And then if I have my captain, I think most of the time I want Purdy to be stacked up with multiple pass catchers. All right, I think that. I didn't look up the matchup for Phillip Rivers. Also a positive one, so that also helps. This is a top 12 matchup, 10 matchup. I can look at my notes, but you can see here it's a positive matchup for Phillip Rivers against this kind of broken down Niners defense. 11th most schedule adjusted fantasy points to quarterbacks over the past 5 weeks. So it's a positive matchup. Everything looks good. He's not getting a ton of ownership. The downside is just that he's an old man. He's an old man trying to play quarterback in the NFL. Yeah, you do a good job of breaking my concentration. No doubt about that, Sean. All right. This will definitely be very, very low owned. Aaron says Phillip Rivers, captain with 4 pass catchers and 1 San Fran, will be pretty low owned for good reason. Agreed. Good reason that it's not going to be super highly owned. I think the pass catchers on the Niners are generally better. You can throw that in there. If you want to do one of those in a 20 lineup set, you'll be ahead of the field by doing that. All All right, good. You got your hat on, Sean. Glad to see that. Any thought on no quarterback lines tonight, Neil? Curious if your Sims come up with those. I would think that they do. I know that they do just based on my exposures here. You can add it all up, and I'm under 100% total exposure. So I'm going to have plenty of lineups with no quarterbacks in them. Totally viable. We have Chris McCaffrey and Jonathan Taylor on the slate. Like if you just play those two, you don't have that much salary left over to play a quarterback. So then, if you go to those two and George Kittle, you're probably not going to get a quarterback in there too often. So yeah, I think that makes plenty of sense to not have a quarterback in every lineup. All right, we'll move on to running backs. Again, I'm going to hold off a little while on doing the membership giveaway, and then the hack giveaway will be probably tomorrow. I think I'll be able to find some time to do it tomorrow. It's a busy week, of course, with Christmas and extra games and all that, but I think I'll be able to find some time tomorrow. Running back, we have Jonathan Taylor, 11,000. Projected for 41% flex ownership, 21% captain ownership. I'm currently well over the field. So even though he's projected for 62% total ownership, I'm getting to 84% Jonathan Taylor right now, 32% at captain, 53%, 85%, 53% at flex of Jonathan Taylor. I'm well over the field, both at flex and at captain. I think it just comes down to the role for Jonathan Taylor is incredible. Last week, 25 carries in the first game of Phillip Rivers, 25 carries plus 4 targets on 50% route participation. That is tough to fail if you get that kind of volume. As part of my Phillip Rivers bet, my guess is that I get a little bit less of Jonathan Taylor just as I try to increase my Rivers exposure. I'll probably be making more bets on the passing game and probably lose a little bit of the Jonathan Taylor, but I'm still going to be over the field on 62%. He's a fantastic play, just a team that wants to run the ball. If the game script is right, they're just going to keep running it with Jonathan Taylor. He's very clearly one of the best plays on the slate, and as you can see here, one of the best captain plays on the slate. I don't really think I have that much more I need to say about Jonathan Taylor. Also a strong matchup in terms of schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed over the past 5 weeks. This is the 10th best matchup for running backs. Great matchup, great role. One of the best roles you could possibly hope for. So yeah, I think Jonathan Taylor obviously looks great. Beyond Jonathan Taylor on the Colts, Amir Abdullah, 2,400 projected for 10% ownership. I'm getting to 21% right now. Abdullah, you can certainly stack up with Phillip Rivers also. But Abdullah, just looking at his role last week, 4 carries in that game, also had 5 targets. He only ran 6 routes, 21.4% route participation, was targeted 5 times on those 6 routes. And that was a game where they didn't throw the ball much. So like the target share for it doesn't show target share here, I don't think, but in pretty strong target share. I think that the highest targets on the team last week was 6. Abdullah was tied with like Michael Pittman and Josh Downs, I believe. So in the right game script, if they're throwing the ball more, like if they get behind, I would think that Abdullah gets more opportunities potentially. But I mean, 5 targets at 2,400, you'll take that all day. 5 targets plus 4 carries, 2,400. If he retains this role, like that is just a really strong role for 2,400. So Abdullah looks great. Again, I'm more than double the field at 21%. Happy with that. I also think Tyler Goodson is kind of sort of interesting. I'm not getting to any currently because we don't have him projected to do anything today. And that is the likeliest outcome if you play Tyler Goodson is he does absolutely nothing. We do have DJ Giddens inactive, by the way. So the likeliest outcome for Goodson is that he does nothing. Again, you look at last week, he did not, I don't believe he played an offensive snap. Certainly didn't get a carry, didn't get a target. Yeah, no routes run, no carries at the very least. 0% snap share for Tyler Goodson last week. I do think that he probably has the better contingent upside. So like no standalone role. Most of the time he's going to be a big fat 0. But I think that there are multiple paths to contingent upside. One of them, of course, just being an injury to Jonathan Taylor. But also you do have the fourth quarter blowout. If Phillip Rivers not getting it done, the Niners are up by 3 touchdowns. I think they would give it to Goodson at that point. And at 200, just any kind of stats is enough to 200, especially if you get, Jonathan Taylor and Christian McCaffrey, whoever else, all the other guys score a lot of fantasy points. It's possible that Goodson is the guy that you need to allow you to get to all of those. And then just getting one carry for 5 yards, 0.5 fantasy points could separate from all of the other cheap players. So he has that out, and then he has the multiple outs to like actually scoring fantasy points, those being Jonathan Taylor injury, gets a full quarter of blowout run, that kind of stuff. So I do think that Amir Abdullah is for large field GPPs, probably not for anything that's like 1,000 or fewer entries in it. I probably would not play any Goodson, but in larger field contests where you're just kind of, throwing darts at the wall, I think that Goodson is actually like kind of a fun dart, just from there are game scripts where he gets, there are scenarios where he gets involved and actually has a role. But even if he doesn't, if it's just like one play where they need a spell of Jonathan Taylor, which they don't usually do with Jonathan Taylor, but if it happens, he could get 5 yards and be the guy that you need. That's probably enough to say on a guy who's probably not going to play any snaps, but I think I'm going to try to get him into my pool. Amir Abdullah, though, just a better play, actually has a standalone role. Looks like a very strong play. And the Sims agree with me on that one. On the Niners side, we have Christian McCaffrey, 11,800, projected for 46% flex ownership, 26% captain ownership. I'm also getting to a lot of Christian McCaffrey, 55% of flex over the field there, 23% captain, just slightly under the field on McCaffrey, a captain. That looks great. I mean, if you want to play Jonathan Taylor and Christian McCaffrey both in every single one of your lineups, I think that is a totally reasonable thing to do. McCaffrey, like Jonathan Taylor, just has an incredible role over the past 3 games, 66 carries. So that's 22 carries per game over the past 3 for Christian McCaffrey. Also 12 targets, another 4 targets per game on 73.5% route participation. Early in the year, the targets were even better. I think the targets could this is probably the low end of targets for Christian McCaffrey, is this 4 per game. So with the targets and the rushing, Christian McCaffrey just obviously awesome. I want a lot of Christian McCaffrey. Brian Robinson Jr., I typically love backup running backs because they often, especially like the Brian Robinson Jr. type, who has a pretty strong standalone role and then has contingent upside. The only issue with Brian Robinson on this slate is he's getting a lot of ownership, 34% flex ownership, 1% captain ownership at 3,000. I think he's a fine play. He 8 carries per game over the past 3 weeks, plus 2 targets on 7% route. So a couple targets, less than 1 per game, but 8 carries per game over the past 3 weeks. Like, that's a pretty good role. And then obviously has the contingent upside. If anything were to happen to Christian McCaffrey, it's going to be Brian Robinson taking over the backfield. I think he's a totally fine play. I would love him at 10% ownership. He would be a player that I'd be well over the field. At 35%, it's tough for me to get really enthusiastic. I kind of think the Sims are doing what they should do here. I have 18%, so I'm about half the field on Brian Robinson Jr. If McCaffrey does get hurt, or Brian Robinson Jr. just happens to score a touchdown, vulture a touchdown, like, I'm not dead, but I think it makes sense to be under the field if the field is going to load up on Brian Robinson Jr. And then you have Kyle Juszczyk, 1,400, projected for 12% ownership. I'm getting to 12%. Juszczyk, not really involved as a runner, but he will get some targets here and there. Over the past 3 weeks, he had 0 carries, but he does have 3 targets. So 1 target per game on 33% route participation. Again, he's the type of player that will there's going to be random weeks where instead of 0 targets, he'll get 4 or 5 targets, and suddenly he looks pretty good at 1,400. Not like a huge priority for me, but as of right now, I'm right with the field. I think I'm okay with that. If I lose a little bit, I'd be okay, having 6% Juszczyk also. Not somebody I'm super excited about, but certainly capable of paying off that 1,400. And frankly, more likely than Goodson to be the guy that you need, because 1,400 might be enough for you to play all the other players that you like. And he's just more likely to have like 1 catch for 15 yards than Tyler Goodson is to score those 2.5 fantasy points. So I wanted to note that, but he's getting more ownership and he's more expensive. All right, I think that's it for running backs. In terms of schedule adjusted for the Niners, it is not as strong of a matchup. I believe it is the 9th worst matchup schedule adjusted over the past 5 weeks. So not, the ideal matchup. Colts also getting back, what's his name? They're getting back a linebacker here this week, and I'm blanking on what the name is, but that obviously hurts a little bit as well. Still, like with McCaffrey, obviously you don't care that much about the matchup. He's just so involved that doesn't matter that much. And then Brian Robinson, cheap enough that doesn't matter as much. Okay. Move on to wide receivers. Check in on chat. Yeah, DeForest Buckner is who I was trying to think of. Is he a linebacker? He's a linebacker, right? Yeah. 0% use check. I'm fine with that. If you don't want to play him, I think he's not, I wouldn't say a safe fade, but like kind of a safe fade. Note that Taylor 2 touchdown prop is about plus 220, while only 3 under that for 1 touchdown. Interesting. We betting on Taylor. I wanted to bet Pittman touchdown plus Jonathan Taylor, but I have to do from both teams on pick 6. That was how I was trying to hedge my bet on my Pittman fade. Oh, he's a lineman. Okay. Lineman, not a linebacker. Interesting. But is he a run stuffer? He's a run stuffer, right? Am I wrong about that? All right, I'll move on to wide receivers. Juwan Jennings, 8,000 is I would say the safest and best wide receiver play on the slate. Probably my favorite captain of these wide receivers. Projected for 28% flex ownership, 6% captain ownership. I'm getting to 23% flex, 6.8% of captain. So actually a little bit under the field right now on Juwan Jennings. I like him. I think he's a fantastic play. I don't know if I'm going to do anything as I'm trying to get to more Phillip Rivers. I probably do end up like with or slightly under the field on Jennings, despite him being, a play that I like quite a bit, just because it makes sense. Like if I'm going to get to more Phillip Rivers, I'm going to get to a lot of his receivers instead. So I probably do end up close to or under the field on Juwan Jennings, despite thinking that he's a great play. Again, the Colts are missing Sauce Gardner. They're also missing Charvarius Ward. This should benefit Juwan Jennings. And then, of course, the Niners also without Ricky Pearsall. So a lot of things working together for Juwan Jennings to potentially have a really strong game here. And of course, he has Brock Purdy at quarterback instead of Phillip Rivers. So Juwan Jennings just looks like a fantastic play. Looking at schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed to wide receivers over the past 5 weeks, it has been a positive matchup overall. It looks like the 10th best matchup for wide receivers, schedule adjusted over the past 5 weeks. Looks great. Everything coming together. Probably even better than this would indicate with Charvarius Ward and Sauce Gardner out. I think Juwan Jennings just a really strong play. Probably my favorite overall of the receivers. If you are talking ownership agnostic, Josh Downs more of an ownership elastic play. Sorry, that's a niche reference to anybody who watched the earlier show. Adam throwing terms at me I've never heard before. But yeah, it matters on every player. It matters quite a bit what the ownership is. I'll continue with San Francisco before we move on to the Colts. So Juwan Jennings looks fantastic. That's the easy one of the Niners receivers. More complicated after that with Ricky Pearsall out. So we have Kendrick Bourne, Demarcus Robinson, Jordan Watkins, Sky Moore. None of them inactive. Would have made the Watkins versus Moore conversation easier if somebody was inactive. But at least we have Bourne and Demarcus Robinson should have real roles on the Niners. And I can pull up this is the route share report for the 49ers because we have several games without Ricky Pearsall. So we had weeks 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, no Pearsall. So in those weeks, the 49ers started off with Kendrick Bourne, 76, 81, 75, 78, 75% route participation. Then dropped down in week 10 to 59%, and then 11%, 6%. So like really dropped down in terms of route participation starting in week 10 and really starting week 11, dropped down significantly, but was back up to 46% route participation in week 15. I do think, and Neil Farley brought this up during the earlier show, so I want to give him some credit for pointing this out. I think Kendrick Bourne is the likeliest to be the wide receiver 2 here because, again, we already saw him kind of trending up in terms of route participation, but then on top of that, he just runs the same types of routes as Ricky Pearsall. So if you look at the past 3 weeks for the 49ers, Ricky Pearsall ran 75% of his routes out wide. Kendrick Bourne, 65% of his routes out wide. So not far off, like running more routes out wide. Whereas Demarcus Robinson, they've been using him in the slot more, 55% slot route participation. So it seems likely that Kendrick Bourne is more likely to take up most of the, or more of the Ricky Pearsall routes on top of already we saw him trending up. He already ran more routes than Demarcus Robinson in week 15. I guess maybe that was just a result of the Ricky Pearsall injury partway through the game, but I'm kind of expecting Bourne to get back to this role that he had weeks 5 through 10. I talked about on the earlier show, like his best weeks were with Mac Jones, which is kind of something that we knew coming in. Like they both came over from the Patriots together. They kind of have a connection, but I still think he can hit with Brock Purdy, and he should be the wide receiver 2 here, at least in terms of route participation. So I think Bourne at 4,400 should look pretty good depending on ownership. And then DeMarcus Robinson, I also think will benefit from Ricky Pearsall being out, maybe not to the same extent, but I would expect him to pop back up to, 50, 60% route participation. In terms of ownership and price, so Bourne is 4,400, projected for 31% flex, 1% captain ownership. I am well under the field on Bourne, just getting 10% total with 0.4% of that at captain. On DeMarcus Robinson, he's 4,000, projected for 15% ownership. I'm getting to just 6% with 0.4% of captain. I think I guess it makes sense because neither of them is actually going to be targeted a ton. I wouldn't think. Just like I think the targets are most going to go to McCaffrey, Kittle, and Jawan Jennings. You're not going to see a ton going to these kind of tertiary receivers. Just 4 targets over the past 3 games for Robinson, 4 for Bourne. Again, I think the roles are better than this, but that's just over 1 target per game. You're kind of hoping for, 3-4 targets in a game for either of them. And if they score a touchdown, it might pay off this price tag. And frankly, I do think like with Pearsall out, there's upside for more than 4 targets for either of them. We haven't really seen it recently. I don't think I'd be surprised if either of Robinson or Bourne gets 5 targets in the game. So probably need a touchdown to come anywhere near paying off their salary. And even then at these salaries, like you need more than just a touchdown. You probably need 9-10 fantasy points, most likely to pay off the salary. So you're going to need a bit more than just 1 touchdown. So being underweight, I think actually makes sense. Even though I think Bourne has a better role, he's also getting more ownership. I don't know. I'm like debating if I want to be above the field, not above the field, above what I'm getting right now. Definitely don't want to be above 32% on Kendrick Bourne if he gets that much ownership. I'll probably just let the Sims do their thing, but I do want to make sure that I have some exposure. I don't want to like get them out of my lineups entirely as I try to do other things. I think I want to make sure I still have like 10% Bourne feels fine. And then you have Jordan Watkins, Sky Moore. Watkins is 800. I'm getting 16% at 8% ownership. Sky Moore is 1,000. I'm getting 4%. That's right in line with his ownership. Either of them could see a bigger role. In recent weeks, Sky Moore has not been running routes at all, but in the last week that Pearsall was out, did run 23% of routes. So I think that's kind of close to the ceiling. Watkins has not run any routes since week 10 when Pearsall was out. And it was Moore getting more of the routes. So I do think that Moore is the better play. Plus he could return kicks. Neither of them are particularly strong though. More kind of just like dart throws where you're hoping for a touchdown. On the other side, I think the Colts is an interesting conversation because in the first game with Phillip Rivers, we saw them kind of, change the way their whole game plan. So first of all, as I mentioned, Phillip Rivers' average depth of his throws was 5.3 yards downfield, just not really chucking it at all. They also didn't throw that much. But Josh Downs was like the very clear beneficiary of the game plan with Phillip Rivers. So $5,600 salary projected for just 7% flex ownership. I'm getting to 46% flex, 9% captain Josh Downs. That looks great. I'm happy to get a good amount of Josh Downs. Looking at the route participation for the Colts, Josh Downs had his highest route participation of the season in that game, 82% route participation in week 15. He, had been kind of in this, 50, 60% range and then bumped up to 82%, which makes sense. He's the type of player that is, he's a slot receiver. He's going to get those short yardage targets. And we saw that in the first game with Phillip Rivers. Again, we saw the increase in route participation. And then we also saw him get 5 targets in that game, which is pretty strong for Josh Downs. So I think he's at this price tag and this ownership. I think Josh Downs is a strong play. Michael Pittman, 7,400 projected for 11% flex ownership, 1% captain ownership. I'm getting to 19% flex, 2% captain. Again, that makes sense. I'm a bit over the field. It is much tougher to pay off a $7,400 price tag than a $5,600 price tag. I think they have similar like roles and projections, much like Downs. Last week, Pittman was targeted 5 times on 93% route participation. That was more in line with where he had been, so not quite as big of a boost last week for Pittman. I think he's a fine play. He's just also getting a fair amount of not a fair amount of. They're both kind of under owned. He's just not. He's more expensive. So Pittman at 7,400. I'm over the field a little bit. Downs, I'm way over the field. And then the biggest stand we're taking as of right now in the Sims, Alec Pierce, 7,000 projected for 11% flex ownership. I got to zero Alec Pierce right now. He was running routes still last week, 86% route participation in week 15. The issue for Alec Pierce is he's always been the deep threat, and now we have a quarterback who is unlikely to throw the ball down the field. He's just been kind of dink and dunking it 5 yards on average. So if he's not going to throw it down the field, then Alec Pierce is just not going to get a ton of opportunities. Again, we saw him run 85.7% of the routes last week. Even still, he was just targeted one time in that game. Did have a 15 ADOT, so he is like, if he does connect on something that's a little bit further down the field, can get a big chunk of the production need from him in a hurry. He's just not that likely to have a ton of opportunities, and he's expensive, and he's getting about the same ownership as Pittman and Downs. I don't know that I want 0% Alec Pierce. Probably as I try to get to more of Phillip Rivers, I'll get to more Alec Pierce also. But I do think he is the third best of the receivers after Downs and Pittman, just based on the way they're playing right now. And then Laquan Treadwell is 200 projected for 1%, 1.5% ownership. I'm getting to 4%. I don't have any real takes there. I don't think that we're going to see any real involvement. 0% routes last week. I don't know. I think he returns kicks. You can hope for something weird to happen. He also could come in like in garbage time, see some opportunities, but not somebody I'm really targeting. You're just kind of hoping for a random touchdown and needing the $200 guy. I think I straight up prefer Tyler Goodson, frankly, over Laquan Treadwell. So I think I'll probably end up not really getting much Treadwell. I'd rather just take those shots on Goodson. All right, I think that's it for receivers. Check in on chat and move on to tight ends. Let's see. Is Jordan James a backup running back? I don't think he's active. He hasn't done anything all year. I know this because he was on some of my best ball teams. I have not looked at him. I assume that he's not playing. I could be wrong about that. Somebody else can look at that, look into Jordan James if you want to, but he's not projecting for anything. And he's like, they have 3 running backs ahead of him. I don't really see the route to him getting there. Let's see. Pierce all targets could go to use check, I suppose. More like Cox, you like, the big guy. Big tight end for the Colts. That's funny. Need that system. Marcus Robinson over Bourne. That's, debatable. I think Bourne probably going to run more routes. Oh no, we're doing economic terms here. I do not 150 max the big slate. I 150 max the mini max, and I do the $20 or the 20 max, the $3 20 max, and then I just play, usually 5, sometimes 10 in the big one. All right, Zebra is going to give the game to Rivers. Okay, so then play more Rivers if you think they're going to be in favor of Phillip Rivers. I don't think that's true. I don't think you're right about that. I don't think the Zebras care. Jordan Watkins and Jordan James are active tonight. Okay, so Jordan James is active. Interesting. Oh yeah, here we're talking about. Okay, I see. All right. Jordan Watkins, yeah. I mean, I didn't see any projection. Maybe I'll rerun and see if they have any kind of anything going to Jordan James. So yeah, Garendo is inactive. Yep, saw that. I guess I did not look into Jordan James at all because he hasn't done anything all year. All right, tight ends. George Kittle, 8,400 projected for 46% flex, 10% captain ownership. I'm getting to 28% flex, 15% captain. So over the field of captain, bit under the field in the flex for George Kittle. In terms of the matchup, it is middle of the pack. I think it's the 15th best matchup in terms of schedule adjusted for tight ends. Nothing really mattering there in terms of the matchup, but George Kittle just has a strong role on the 49ers. 23 targets over the past 3 games on 82.4% route participation. Again, we've seen George Kittle in past years when they had Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. Whenever one of the top receivers was out, you just saw George Kittle get more involved as a pass catcher. I think Pearsall is not the same as Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk, but I do think it benefits or could potentially benefit Kittle to have Pearsall out because they're not really that enthusiastic about throwing it to Kendrick Bourne or Demarcus Robinson. I think that Brock Purdy is just going to be more comfortable throwing it to Kittle, Jennings, and Christian McCaffrey. So I think Kittle, a very strong play. One of the surer things on the slate. Happy to be over the field at captain. Wouldn't mind getting more in the flex, but generally happy with what I'm getting with Kittle. And then you have Tyler Warren on the other side. Again, he benefits from Phillip Rivers throwing it short. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't really benefit, but I think it's at least like kind of neutral for Tyler Warren. He gets a lot of those shorter targets. 6,600 projected for 31 and 8 at captain. Ownership, I'm getting to 30 and 3 at captain. So a bit under the field on Tyler Warren. I mean, just not expecting them to score a ton of points. But again, he was targeted 6 times in the last game, the most of any Colts player in that first game with Phillip Rivers, 86% route participation, as live as anybody to see an end zone target. So yeah, Warren is a strong play at 6,600. I think I ranked them in my fantasy points article, all the pass catchers for the Colts. And I think my rankings, when you factor in price and ownership, are Downs number 1, followed by Warren number 2, then Pittman, then Pierce. I think it's kind of how I would rank the Colts. You could argue that Pittman should maybe be ahead of Warren based on ownership, but just not considering ownership, I would say I would have it Downs number 1, then Warren, then Pittman based on price, and then Pierce last. Of the backup tight end options, Luke Farrell, Mo Alley-Cox, Jake Tongus, and Drew Ogletree. Get into just a little bit of all of them. 5% Farrell, 3% Mo Alley-Cox, 0.4% Tongus, and 1.6% Ogletree. Just looking at the roles, I mean, we can just look at the last 3 games for the Colts. For the Niners, we have Luke Farrell, 2 targets in those 3 games on 9% route participation. Tongus, 0 targets on 2.9%. Maybe you could argue with Ricky Pearsall, we see a slight increase for the tight ends. It's not going to be enough for any of them to be like plays you're super confident in. You can hope for a touchdown, but we're probably not going to get much out of the tight ends. And then the Colts, this is not including week 14, but 3 of the last 4 games, just to get a sense of how much they do. 3 targets for Andrew Ogletree on 6.7% route participation. 1 target for Mo Alley-Cox on 13.5% route participation. Just, not roles that you can feel confident in, but they could just score a random touchdown. So they are in the pool, players we can consider. All right, defenses and kickers, and then we'll do a membership giveaway, not the hack giveaway tonight, just the membership giveaway. All right. Defenses and kickers, Eddie Pinheiro, 5,000 projected for 43% flex and 3% captain ownership. I'm getting to 34% flex, 1% captain. That's fine. I'm a little bit under the field, still have plenty on Pinheiro. He's, priced just fine at 5,000. Colts defense, 3,400 projected for 8-0. I'm getting to 26-2. Blake Groupie, 4,600 projected for 40-2. I'm getting to just 6.4. And then Niners defense, 4,800 projected for 19-1. I'm getting to 8. I think I probably want to. I'll probably kind of try to middle this a little bit more. I think it makes sense to have more of Pinheiro than Groupie. He projects better than Groupie. They are both getting a ton of ownership, over 40% ownership for both. I do think I don't feel that confident in Pinheiro being a better play than Groupie. So I'll probably try to get, something closer to 25% of Pinheiro and 20% of groupie or something like that. I don't know. I'm not. I probably want a bit more groupie. Wouldn't mind losing some of the Pinheiro, but that this isn't something that I feel that strongly about. This is kind of just I don't think I want to take this much risk on Pinheiro outscoring groupie. I just don't. Yeah, I think it's Pinheiro projects better. The Niners have a better implied team total. I also do think like groupie is likelier to get to a point where it's like the Colts are just down by enough that they're not going to kick the ball in the second half, regardless of where they are. So I think it is a bit riskier, but I don't know that I'll take this big of a gap in my kicker ownership. The defenses, I like what they're doing. What the Sims are giving me, I'm well over the field on the Colts. Again, they're 3,400 and just getting 8% ownership. And Brock Purdy does turn the ball over. They are missing two of their better cornerbacks, which don't love that. But I think it makes sense to get a lot of the Colts. The Niners is tougher. They're 4,800, project for 20% total ownership. The issue with the Niners is the Colts are just going to have a really conservative game plan. Most likely they're just going to dink and dunk it, not really taking shots down the field. So it's going to be tough to cause turnovers, most likely, for this 49ers defense. I will say Phillip Rivers, looking through some of his past seasons before this year. So we're talking 5 years ago, but he has multiple seasons. I think he has 3 seasons in his career where he threw for 20 or more interceptions. So I do think, even though he is an old wise man at this point, I'm not totally convinced that he can't be turnover prone if forced to throw. So I do think that there are some game scripts where they get behind, Phillip Rivers has to throw the ball, and maybe he will turn the ball over. So I don't hate the 49ers defense. I just think it's, that there's a part of me that thinks that's a really strong play because they are facing a 44-year-old Phillip Rivers. But at the end of the day, I just don't think that they're going to have enough opportunities that I'm that I'm super confident it can work out. I think I'd like to have double-digit exposure to the Niners. I don't think that it's a spot where I'm going to be jamming the Niners defense. All right. Rant says this showdown is brutal. I mean, yeah, it is kind of brutal. I think it's kind of fun, personally. And if you're using an optimizer, would you want to require 2 indie skill players if Rivers in flex, or would it just one would be all right? If you have Rivers in the flex, totally just one is fine. Nice, Sean joining me in the mini-max streets. Colts would like to run. Aaron says, I think the Colts would like to run and short pass and control the clock. San Francisco will just want to win in any way and get on to the Bears next week. All of that probably equals unders and underscripts. Probably. I think that you're right about that. Yeah. Good luck to you. Also, spurious news. Let's win some money. All right. Let's do a giveaway. We ready for a little giveaway? I think it's time. I think this is the right time to do it. Let me go into YouTube. I think this is straightforward. Let's see. All right, engage with your audience. Nope, that's not doing it. All right, I know this is easy to figure out because I did it last time. Membership gifting. There you go. Send gift memberships to viewers. All right, it says I can send 5 now. Can I do that twice? I'm going to send 5 first, and then I'll see if I can immediately do it again. So it should just go to random people in chat. There you go. 5 cent. I'm going to try to do it again. Congrats to those members. You will be part of the hack giveaway tomorrow. You'll be eligible to win membership gifting. All right, there we go. I can do 5 more now immediately. There we go. There's 5 more. And then let's see. Can I do more? Yeah, I'm going to do, because we got to 6,000, which was the goal, I'm going to give away 10 more if I can figure out how to do it real quick. There we go. Looks easy. I think it's going now. All right, there you go. There you go. Those are all the memberships are done, given away. So you all can be part of the hack giveaway. Appreciate all of you helping me get to 6,000 subscribers, supporting me throughout the year. Very much appreciated. Once we get to 7,000, we'll do another giveaway. If we get there during this NFL season, we'll do another giveaway. All right. Oh no, Pepper Tony, you have your account settings so you can't win. That is sad. Sorry to hear that. All right. Continuing on, I'm going to start making my lineups. So going back, actually, I'm going to refresh just in case they change anything. Then get into making them. All right, so I'm going to increase the Colts points scored to 21, pace to 59, and then I bring the rush rate down to 45, and the rush touchdown rate down to 46. I'm also going to give Tyler Goodson like 2% rushing market share, I think. For now. All right, we'll start there. Probably not going to get to any with those numbers, but we'll try. All right. Now I'm just going to rerun like this. So I'm going to do settings. Top heavy payout structure. 250 lineups. Boom. Didn't work. Boom. There we go. Yes, there are new emojis you can use. You should have badges, that kind of stuff, and you can. The other thing you can do as a member of the channel is there are some private channels in the Discord that you are now able to access. So if you connect your YouTube to Discord and you join the Flanoverse Discord, then you should be able to access like the Mathology channel and any other private channels. I don't put a ton behind the paywall, frankly. I do most things free, so like you don't get like, it's not like an awesome giveaway. But it does get you into the hack giveaway. I would like to at some point. I think it'll probably be the off season. I'll start doing more stuff behind the paywall and reward people who are members. But so far, not that much behind the paywall. Okay. Yeah, you should join. Recommend joining the Discord, even if you're not a member. It's free to join. There's a link in the description of this video if you want to check out the Discord. It's a fun time. We talk best ball and DFS and TV shows and all that good stuff. I was watching the Adam Levitan solo pod this week, Life with Levitan, and he mentioned Curb Your Enthusiasm. And I gotta say, speaking of TV shows, I've only watched probably not even one full season of Curb Your Enthusiasm. So that's one that I think I need to put on my bucket list of shows that I need to catch up on. What do people think of Curb Your Enthusiasm? Is it as good as he made it sound? How do the later seasons compare to the early seasons? I love Curb, says Fantasy Football Garage. All right. I liked Seinfeld when it was on. Okay, everybody seems to be agreeing. It's great. Yeah, I mean, like I like comedies generally. I like awkward comedies some, I think. Sean, I don't know what got you on lamenting Colby Parkinson's touchdown right now, but yeah, that was a bummer for you. Oh, they do a Seinfeld reunion? Okay. That could be fun. Miami says later it's not as good, the later seasons. Interesting. All right, there we go. Sim's done. Let's check it out. First of all, the top lineups, I'll just read them off quickly. And again, these are not in order of UV because I'm using the Shady Portfolio Optimizer, but still some of the top lineups at the top. Jonathan Taylor, captain, with Brian Robinson, Christian McCaffrey, Eddie Pinheiro, Josh Downs, Tyler Warren. Second lineup, Josh Downs, Brian Robinson, Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Phillip Rivers, Tyler Warren. Third lineup, Josh Downs, Christian McCaffrey, Colts, Taylor, Rivers, Warren. Most of them using the close to the full salary cap. The top one does leave $1,500 on the table. Some of them using the full or leaving, 500 or so. Doesn't look like we have any that are leaving a ton on the table, which I think is just a matter of McCaffrey and Taylor are really expensive and they're the best plays on the slate. In terms of exposures now, quarterback. So now I am getting to a bit more Rivers after making those adjustments. That makes sense, obviously. I'm now getting to 28% in the flex plus 1% at captain of Rivers. So well over the field. I might still adjust a little bit more, but we'll see. Now Purdy, I am down to 43 and 2. So I'm getting less Purdy. It's like, this is kind of the low end of what I'd be comfortable with Purdy. Running back, I'm still getting to a ton of Taylor. So even after giving away some of his usage and increasing the pass rate, I'm still at 47% flex, 36% captain Taylor. That's great. Getting to 48 and 20 of McCaffrey. That's great. 19% Robinson. That makes sense. 26% Abdullah. That's great. 12% use check. I'm fine with. 4% Goodson. Oh, interesting. So here they do have him at 2% ownership. I didn't think he was getting any ownership. 2% is like, all right, that's fine. That's actually a lot of people in a field of 200,000 or something. You're still not. It's not like you're the only one playing him at 2%. And he's a good chance of being a 0, but I'm fine with it. I think he probably comes in under that. That's just Adam trying to tell me, don't do it, Neil. He's like, I'm going to give him some ownership so that he looks less appealing. Let me look at somewhere else. Do they have any ownership there? I'm kidding, of course. Adam's not trying to help me. We are sweating the same thing. Yeah, he's not getting any ownership. Oh, it's because he doesn't have a projection. Let me see. Yeah, okay. He actually does have on another site that does not have him projected for any fantasy points. They do have him around that same ownership. So maybe he will get some ownership, and that is 2% is a lot less appealing than 1% even ownership, but still I think it's fine. Wide receiver. Getting a 20 and 4 of Jennings, 49 and 10. See, the downside here is I don't actually just want only the Colts receivers. Like I do like Jennings here. Getting to 9 and 10% total Bourne, 7% Robinson, 0.4% Pierce now. So that getting into more of the passing game does get me to more Pierce. I'll think about moving some more route participation to Jennings, or sorry, more target share to Jennings, just because I do think that he's still a pretty strong play. Kittle, I'm getting to 30 and 16, 41 and 4 of Warren. Not getting to a ton of the backup tight ends. I'm fine with that. And then defenses, kickers. Yeah, I didn't do anything to adjust that. Maybe I'll increase groupies projection slightly. I think I want double digit of the Niners at least, so maybe I'll boost that too. All right, I think I have time to just rerun, so I'm not going to download these just yet. So let's see. Okay. Can probably move slight amount of target share from McCaffrey to Jennings. Do I want to do that? Yeah, that's fine. I'll still get to a ton of McCaffrey. So I'm just going to move McCaffrey down to 18% receiving market share. Wait, did I do that wrong? Oh, I did the touchdown market share. That is not what I meant to do. I think I moved it downward, though. That's probably fine. Yeah, I moved it down slightly. And then I can move Jennings up to 22% receiving market share. Okay, I think that's good. And then move up groupies projections slightly up to 8. Do I want even more Phillip Rivers? Not necessarily. Maybe I'll move his captain ownership down to 2% and bring Pittman up to 2%. Try that. Yeah, I think I'm good with what I'm getting now. Didn't love how little Purdy I was getting that last run. Maybe I could bring down his captain ownership to 15, CMC up to 28. That'll normalize the ownership also. All right, I'm going to try with this. Thoughts on what one's lowest ownership play needs to be in large fields? 15%, 5% less. Definitely doesn't. I mean, you can play strong lineups with nobody lower than 15%. That is absolutely possible. Doesn't even need to be that low. Like there could be lineups that, you're using 6 players that are all projected for 30% plus ownership, but you're leaving $1,800 on the table. And so like, even though you have a ton of ownership in your lineup, the combo is going to be unique. This is something that the Sims, it's a better question for, like, the Sims will handle this question better than I will, but like, I've never been one to set a like max product ownership or max, like, I don't know, I've never been one to set a rule around ownership, because I think that you can play lineups that have a lot of ownership, but they're unique in the construction, or they're unique because they're leaving salary on the table. There are different ways to get unique rather than just playing low owned players. Yeah, Thursday, Christmas slate. Sounds like it's going to be, I have not actually looked that closely at it. Sounds like it's going to be bleak. Oh, you're just removing players straight off from your player pool? See, I rarely do that. Sean says, I'm 56 and haven't cut my hair since I was 21. Well, good for you, Sean. Still having hair at 56. I shave my head. I do it myself, so I cut my hair all the time. All right, we're almost done with this set of the Sims. All right, we had a couple people join the Discord. Appreciate you. Enjoy. Everybody treat them nice. Say hello. Yeah, both teams probably will. I mean, or maybe not even the run, but it can be just the running backs at the very least. Uhaim says, think for single entry, I'm going to zag and go Alec Pierce captain, low chance to hit, but nobody will be dumb enough to do it. I know one guy dumb enough to do it, Uhaim's. He's the guy who just told me he's going to do it. No, I don't hate that. He's Alec Pierce clearly has, like, if he just has the 60-yard touchdown, like, he can be the guy. Just crazy enough to work, Uhaim's. All right. Top lineup now. Josh Downs captain with Christian McCaffrey. Colts defense, Jonathan Taylor, Phillip Rivers. Tyler Warren uses a full salary cap. Second lineup, Jonathan Taylor captain, Brian Robinson, Christian McCaffrey, Eddie Pinheiro, Josh Downs, Tyler Warren. And this is, I didn't even talk about the playing the running backs from the same team. As usual, I think my answer is almost always yes, you can on this slate. Yes, you absolutely can play multiple running backs from the same team in the same lineup. No issue with it. Third lineup, Jonathan Taylor, Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Kyle Juszczyk, Sky Moore, leaves 500 on the table. So it's the one in the captain spot and then a 5-man stack all in the flex. Maybe Jonathan Taylor just does everything for the Colts. Let's see my exposures now. At quarterback, yeah, taking a bit of a stand on Phillip Rivers, 29% flex. 2% captain. I think that looks great. 46-3 of Purdy. It's scary being that far under the field, but I think I'm okay with it. Let's see. Running back. 50 at flex, 33 captain Jonathan Taylor. I wouldn't mind like lowering that just slightly to get to more of like Purdy, some of the other plays. So I'll think about doing that. McCaffrey, I'm at 47 and 18 captain. Also wouldn't mind getting a bit, evening these two out a little bit. Robinson, I'm now at 16-1. That's fine. Abdullah, 26-0. That's fine. I like Abdullah quite a bit. Use check, I'm now a little bit under the field. Okay with that. I have 3% goods in. That's cool. I like goods. I like having 3% is like about the level of stand I want to take, where it's like if it hits, I'm pretty happy with 3%. I've got some outs. Wide receiver, 25-4 of Jennings, so increase that a little bit. Still getting to a ton of Josh Downs, 48-11, 27-2 of Pittman, 9-0 of Bourne, 6-0 of Demarcus Robinson. I didn't get to any of Alec Pierce in this one. I'd like to have a little bit of Pierce at least. 5% more, 2% Watkins, 2% Treadwell. 28-17 of Kittle, so a lot of Kittle in the captain. 37-6 of Tyler Warren, 4 Farrell. Not much of the backup tight ends. Kickers and defenses. Yeah, I evened it out a little bit, got to a bit more groupy. I should increase the sack rate for the Niners. All right, I'm going to download these lineups and then rerun the Sims one more time. Just want to get these ones in to make sure I'm not playing a bunch of dead lineups. Reserved entries. I'm excited for this slate. Personally, I'll be a lot less excited the first time Michael Pittman makes a big play and I start seeing doom for my best ball team, but could be a fun one. Could be a fun DFS slate if Phillip Rivers does anything, and ideally not to Michael Pittman, so it doesn't actually crush my best ball while doing it. All right, we got the damn bots. How the Colts, wait, I think how many lineups have you used without a quarterback? Plenty of lineups on this one without a quarterback. Probably, I'm guessing it's about a third of my lineups. And that's after boosting Phillip Rivers. Did I get those in? Yes, I did. Okay, good. All right, I'm going to try and do this one more time. All right, so let's see. Inputs. I am going to, if I want more Purdy, more McCaffrey, I think I can get to more of them just by decreasing Jonathan Taylor slightly. So I can, first of all, I'm going to give Jonathan Taylor a bit more of this ownership. I'm going to bring Purdy down to 50 and 14. Taylor up to 43, 22. So that might help get into more of Purdy and McCaffrey now relatively. That lowers his projection relative to Taylor's ownership projection. All right, I don't want to lower McCaffrey anymore because I want to get to some good amount of McCaffrey. I guess I'm okay with where I'm at with Jennings. Do I want more Pierce? I might want slightly more Pierce. Getting to a ton of Josh Downs, so I can probably give some of the Downs work to Pierce, bring him down to 19 and Pierce up to 10. Is that crazy? I think I'll still get to a ton of Downs. I'll try that. And then the sack rate for the Niners up from 5% to 7%. See what that does. Do I want more Goodson? I'm afraid I'm going to lose that. So I'm going to just give him a slight boost. $79 for Taylor, 3% for Goodson. We'll try that. Yeah, we're good. We're good. Plenty of time to get these in. That's funny. Kevin says he threw a few dollars on Rivers over 0.5 rushing yards just to make any time he gets out of the pocket exciting. Nice. This is true. Aaron says, keep in mind that random Chicago receiver who caught that last touchdown. Anything can happen with one injury. Very true. Boosting Rivers got you a lot of Colts and captain. Yeah, I mean, I boosted the pass rate, which got me to more of all of them. Yeah. Ooh, good luck. PW sucks as he needs under 13 for Alec Pierce to make the BBM finals. I feel for you because, like, most likely, I think you're probably a 85-90% favorite for under 13 for Alec Pierce. But then just like that's low enough that it's literally one play that he can kill you. So I feel for you. It's unlikely for Alec Pierce to have a 65-yard touchdown, but just never know. So you're going to have to be sweating it the entire game. So that's the worst. I need to dodge Josh Downs mostly for best ball. Good luck to you, Who Hames. I'm like, the only one that I really care about is the DraftKings Millie, where I'm fading 20, a little bit under 26. It's like 25 point something from Pittman. I think it's 25 point something. Would beat me. That's what I care about the most. And like, it's unlikely to hit, but I said this on Twitter. I've had so many bad beats in week 16. I had one, a best ball mania 3 years ago, I think, where I needed Cam Akers to be under 22. And that's all I needed to make the BBM finals. It would have been my third team in that BBM. That was the only year I've made it into the BBM finals, but I could have had 3 in it. And then Cam Akers put up 23 or 24 or something. And then the following year, I needed I want to say 17 from Zamir White. And the night before, the reports were Josh Jacobs going to play. So I was like, all right, I'm safe, marked safe from Zamir White. And the morning of, they said, nope, Josh Jacobs actually not playing. And then he went the entire game. The Chiefs had him bottled up. And finally, when they were like, just had to run out the clock, he had like 68 rushing yards on the final drive. When like the Chiefs knew they wanted to run, all they had to do is keep him, to 10-yard runs or something, and got beat by Zamir White in a big board. So I never feel safe. These week 16s don't feel safe at all from Michael Pittman. All right, what do we got? I'm going to look at my player exploder, starting with quarterbacks. 29 and 1.6 of Rivers, 49 and 3 of Purdy. Okay, 48 and 31 of Taylor, 50 and just 17 of McCaffrey, so did not really get more there. 16% Brian Robinson, 24% Amir Abdullah, 9% Juszczyk, 5% Goodson. That's cool. That's all good. Wide receiver, we're at 23 and 8 of Jennings. That's good. I'm close to where I want to be there. 45 and 8 of Downs, 27 and 4 of Pittman, 7% Bourne, 5% DeMarcus Robinson. Still none of Alec Pierce. All right. I might run this one more time. I'm going to run this one more time. Still getting to a ton of Downs, not much Pierce. All right, I'm going to try. I said I'm going to run. I'm going to try to run one more time. We'll see if I actually have time. All right. So again, maybe I just bring up the Niners slightly. 25.8 to 26. That's nothing. Pace up to 63. Should help me get to more of Purdy and McCaffrey. Maybe Jennings. And I'm not getting much Bourne, and DeMarcus Robinson. Wouldn't mind getting slightly more there. So I think a slight increase is good. And then on the Colt side, I'm still getting to all of the Jonathan Taylor. I want a bit more Pierce. So if I give, what if I bring Taylor down to a 14% receiving market share? Bring Pierce up to 11%. That might help. I think that might help. Now I'm at over 1%. Can I normalize to that? Nope. All right, let's see. Just going to get rid of Treadwell. There we go. All right, we're going to try that. Merry Christmas to Tracy, Sean's wife. Sean says she wished you won. She's listening at the moment. That's rare. Appreciate you listening, Tracy. Hopefully on a different device than Sean. I'm sure you're in different rooms listening to the show together separately for more viewership. Joking, of course. Appreciate it, though. Devin says, I'm tied in an underdog best ball for first. Neither of us have a player in this game. What happens if we tie? I do not know what the tiebreaker rules are on underdog. Maybe somebody else can let you know what you can look it up. It'll be in the rules. If you look in underdog, should be able to find what the tiebreaker is, but I do not know without looking it up. Aaron says, enjoy the last good game until Saturday. Hopefully it's not the last good game. Oh, the database says you have only a 74% chance to win. I would have thought higher than that. Yeah, definitely a bad beat if you lose it, but I guess 26% chance. He is a spike week kind of guy. Oh no, the bots have come. Oh, Who says the tiebreaker is your highest scoring player. So yeah, I think Williams would know. This is probably the right answer. So do you have the highest scoring player in your match? Do you have Puka Nacua, first of all? And does your opponent not have Puka Nacua? I kind of hate that as a tiebreaker. It's like it means you have the worst team, probably. Not necessarily. It's obviously just 1 week. Doesn't actually mean anything, but I kind of dislike the rule of highest scorer is the tiebreaker. Oh, and Dr. Press says tiebreaker is the roster with the highest score in regular season score. So now we're getting mixed thoughts on what the tiebreaker is. You'll have to just look it up. Oh, okay. Who aims is correct. Well, then apologies. Sounds like you lose that tiebreaker if you don't have the highest scoring player. Is your turkey for Christmas going to be covered in bacon, Sean? Yes, going to be covered in bacon. Love it. Although I do agree with all in here that I do like a good Christmas ham. Yeah, it's pretty brutal, Devin. Sorry to hear. Maybe you'll get a stat correction or something. Oh, these are not going to get done in time, are they? I'm not gonna get this one in. I don't think. We'll see. All in here says go, go, go. I mean, this is all up to the Sims at this point. We still have to, and then let's go to shady advice that, probably less than a minute left. I don't think I'm going to have time. I'm going to try that. We'll if it gets here, I'm going to immediately download, get it in there. I just don't think it's happening. Oh, diversifying payouts. All right. We are in the final stage. But usually, like, you need this screen to come up with like 2 minutes left to be able to get them in, I think. Doesn't always take that long, but it's a lot of lineups too. I was close enough. Oh yeah, now we are at lock, so did not get it in time. I think the one that I downloaded was my second to last, which was close enough. All right. Thank you all for hanging out. Congrats to anybody who won a membership. Again, I will be doing a hat giveaway to Flannelverse members. You can also join if you want to. It's $5 to join as a member if you want to be part of that giveaway. But you can also win just by, winning $1,000 or more in a contest using the Flannelverse avatar, giving a shout out to myself or Mathology, all that good stuff. I will not be live between now and Christmas, so Merry Christmas to those who celebrate. Happy holidays to everybody. I'll be putting out a video for the Christmas slate. I don't think I'll be live. I think I'll pre-record a video most likely for the Christmas slate, and then next time I'll be live, I guess will probably be Sunday Night Football. I think it'll be the next live. So hope to see you all there. Hope to see you in the meantime in the Flannelverse Discord, at the top of tournaments, all that good stuff. Good luck tonight, everybody, in both DFS and best ball and season long. Good luck. See you guys soon.